Imagine sitting across from the woman who raised you, the woman who wiped your tears, celebrated your birthdays, and called you her little miracle. Now, imagine her looking you right in the eyes, her voice trembling as she says, "You aren't the baby I carried." This isn't a scene from a movie. It's the real-life story of Mark and David, two men whose lives were built on a foundation of lies. 4 years, they felt like strangers in their own skin. They were raised just miles apart, yet they were worlds away from the truth. They had different heights, different eyes, different souls. They always dismissed the odd coincidences, the feeling of not quite belonging. But the truth wasn't a simple mistake made by a tired hospital nurse. It was a cold, calculated choice made in the dead of night, by a mother driven by a terrifying, desperate fear. This is a story that challenges everything we think we know about motherhood, identity, and the long shadow of a single, devastating decision. Let's rewind the clock 25 years. Two women, Sarah and Linda, found themselves sharing a quiet, sterile maternity ward. Both had just given birth to beautiful baby boys. But their situations couldn't have been more different. Linda's son was the picture of health, robust, with a strong cry and rosy cheeks. Sarah's baby, however, was struggling. He was pale, weak, and a persistent, worrying cough echoed in the darkness of the room. Sarah had experienced loss before, and as she watched her tiny son fight for every breath, a wave of pure panic washed over her. She was convinced she couldn't survive losing another child. Her heart pounded in her chest, and a desperate idea took root in her mind. As the night shift nurses dozed at their station, Sarah got out of her bed. Her feet were silent on the cold linoleum floor. She crept into the nursery, where the babies lay sleeping in their little plastic bassinets. In the flickering fluorescent light, she did the unthinkable. With trembling hands, she carefully unclipped the ID bracelets from the two infants. She swapped them. She took Linda's healthy, sleeping boy back to her bed and left her own struggling son in his place, in the arms of a stranger who would unknowingly raise him as her own. In that moment, she sealed the fate of 4 people, forever altering the course of their lives with one secret act of desperation. The boys, now named David and Mark, grew up just 20 miles apart, but in completely different worlds. David, the healthy baby Sarah stole, was raised in her home. But he always sensed a strange, unexplainable distance. He felt like a guest in his own family, an outsider looking in. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but the love he received felt conditional, almost fragile. He excelled in school and sports, always trying to earn an affection that seemed just out of reach. He felt like he was living up to an expectation that wasn't his own, a ghost of a brother he never knew he had. Meanwhile, Mark, the boy Sarah gave away, had a much tougher start. He was raised by Linda and her husband, who loved him dearly, but were constantly bewildered by his chronic health issues. He battled respiratory problems and a weakened immune system throughout his childhood. His parents spent countless nights in emergency rooms, searching for answers that doctors couldn't provide. Why was their son so different from them? Why did he struggle when they were both so healthy? The trauma wasn't just physical for Mark, it was a lingering psychological ghost. He felt a deep, unspoken sense of abandonment. Both boys were living lives that didn't truly belong to them, shaped by a monumental lie that was silently ripening with every passing year. For 25 years, the secret held, the families moved on, their lives branching in different directions, all while orbiting this hidden truth. It wasn't until a completely routine, almost mundane event that the entire house of cards came crashing down. David needed to take a DNA test for a new health insurance policy. It was just a formality, a simple cheek swab. He sent it in without a second thought. But when the results came back, they were anything but routine. The paper read in stark, undeniable print, 0% genetic match with the people who had raised him. 0. The world tilted on its axis. Confusion turned to suspicion, and suspicion led to a confrontation that had been a quarter of a century in the making. When David, and eventually Mark, finally sat down with their mothers, the truth spilled out of Sarah like a poison well. The dam of her guilt and fear finally broke. With tears streaming down her face, she admitted everything. The swap in the nursery, the fear that drove her, the decades of silence. But there was no real apology. Instead, she tried to justify her actions. She claimed she did it to save her son, the son she couldn't bear to lose. But in her desperate act of saving one child, she had stolen the identities of two men and shattered the peace of two families forever. Today, Mark and David are in their late 20s, trying to piece together who they actually are. Imagine waking up one day to find out that your entire life, every memory, every birthday, every I love you, was part of a script written by someone else's fear. How do you even begin to reclaim 25 years of lost history? How do you forge a relationship with biological parents who are essentially strangers? How do you look at the woman you called mom for your entire life, knowing she chose you by stealing you from another mother's arms? The trauma isn't just in the swap itself, it's in the daily, gut-wrenching realization that nothing was what it seemed. For David, it's understanding that the emotional distance he always felt wasn't his fault. It was the echo of his mother's guilt. For Mark, it is grappling with the fact that the woman who gave birth to him willingly gave him away, leaving him to an unknown fate. They are caught between two families, belonging to both and neither at the same time. They are trying to build a brotherly bond, but their shared past is a source of both connection and profound pain. They are navigating a future where the very definition of family has been completely rewritten. This story forces us to confront some incredibly difficult questions about human nature, desperation, and forgiveness. And it brings us to a question that has haunted these families every single day since the discovery. Put yourself in Sarah's shoes for a moment. Imagine the overwhelming terror of watching your newborn fade before your eyes, the visceral fear of losing a child. Could you, in that moment of pure panic, have made that trade, or flipped the coin? If you were David, the son who discovered his life was a lie, could you ever truly forgive the mother who saved you by betraying you and so many others? What does forgiveness even look like in a situation this catastrophic? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below. This is a story of a mother's love, but it's also the story of a crime that can never truly be undone, a wound that may never fully heal. Thanks for watching. And if you found this story as compelling as I did, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more. See you next time.